So one of the most controversial things I've said in my videos is that Poland should reform their language. But I see other people who would make that content and it's so boring. You watch it and they're just like,
I know.
oh my God, I love Poland. And it's like, get the F out of here. It's not
That's
genuine.
what I mean.
Right? Yeah. Poland is nice because they attract immigrants, but it's a lot of high skill immigrants. So like there's this chip on the shoulder of the country and the Polish people that they're very smart, incredibly hardworking, but they're always seen as kind of like Europe's little brother, you see?
Bro, so what is personal development for you, to you?
That's a good question. I think it all started repairing the relationship of my family, particularly my dad. Through my 20s, my young 20s, we fought a lot and I had a lot of anger towards him. But as I get older, and I think this happens to most men, you know, our dads had their flaws, but we start to humanize them and appreciate them for what they did. Being a man is not easy.
Hi there, I'm KAMAL and welcome to Warsaw Confidential, Poland's #1 podcast in English. Each episode, I sit down with remarkable people from Poland and around the world to share inspiring stories and engage in honest, deep conversations about culture, business, and personal development. Thank you for supporting our show. Please enjoy this episode.
This show is brought to you by Meknes, a brand I created to celebrate Moroccan craftsmanship, heritage, and now argan oil. Did you know Morocco is the only place in the world where you will find pure premium argan oil, a true liquid gold that's been our little secret for centuries. I use it for everything, hair, skin, and beard. I love it and I know you will too. Meknes has brought the finest argan oil straight from Morocco, crafted into a collection of cosmetics that work. No fillers, just the best nature has to offer. Check out meknes.com, use the code MEKNES15 and enjoy 15% off your purchase and experience Morocco's beauty secret, because great hair or skin or beard shouldn't be a secret anymore. Wes, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man.
So my first question is deliberately simple, yet it's very deep. I think you will get it. So who are you, what do you do, and why does it matter?
So my name is Wes. I am a creative, and I think what I do matters because in Asian culture, specifically Chinese culture, doing anything creative is heavily frowned upon. And I take everything that I do very seriously. When I make my YouTube videos, sometimes they're funny, but I'm sure you've seen that I touch on very serious topics. And I take my music very seriously too. And it was difficult because growing up, I didn't get a lot of support from my family or my community to pursue these. But I think it's important that other Asian guys see Asian guys being successful in the creative field. That has always been one of my big goals. And just not falling into the stereotype of what you would think of you if you see somebody like me, right? Like I look from the outside, I look Chinese, but I'm American, but I also speak Spanish. I have a Latin heart. And now I'm here in Poland and I really am enjoying it here. And I'm just a man of many interests and I don't like being defined just by a box, right? So I'm a world-class pianist, but I also love doing YouTube. I also love to dance. I also love deep conversation. And I think life is too short to not do everything you want to do. So I've just decided to do everything I want to do.
You somehow answered my second question already, because I want to know what's the one thing that you could tell me and will help me understand the man sitting in front of me today.
Courageous. I think there comes a point in every man's life where you can either decide to follow the call to adventure or stay in your comfort zone. And I had this call from a very young age to pursue it, and it hasn't been easy. You know, my 20s was very difficult, and I'm 30 now, but I'm very proud of the man that I become, even through, we'll touch on my origin story in a little bit with Colombia, my divorce and all that stuff, but I'm very happy with the man I become because I feel like I lived a very interesting and well-lived life, and my life has been an adventure so far, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
So let's travel back in time. Tell me about the moment you said, I need to see the world. How did it was? You were in California, right?
Yeah, I'm from Los Angeles originally.
Los Angeles, exactly.
And I always knew just American culture never fit with how I view the world. American, it's extreme capitalism. It's money and your career over everything. And especially being in Los Angeles, right? There's two kinds of people in Los Angeles. There are people from LA, and there's people who move from all across the country to be in LA. I didn't like the culture because it felt very superficial, very transactional. And my opinion about Los Angeles, I feel like there's some demon energy in the air, because when people go there, it feels like you kind of have to sell your soul to be successful. And I was just not happy with my life there. I knew I always wanted to go to Latin America because I always wanted to learn Spanish from a young age. I knew I was going to make that happen. And when I was 25, I moved to Colombia for that. And I was just not happy with my life there. I always thought that there was something more, something better. And when I turned 25, before I turned 25, I went on a Europe trip. I saw a bunch of countries. I met a few people that sold all of their things and just booked a one-way ticket to Europe or New Zealand or wherever. And I thought to myself, why couldn't I do that as well? So the origin story was my time in LA was, I look back at it with mixed feelings because that was my childhood, but I had a very rocky relationship with my family, particularly my dad growing up. And I just felt trapped, right? The Los Angeles lifestyle, everything's super expensive. You need a car to survive, and trying to make it as a creative, unless you're really, really good at making a lot of money, you're barely surviving. And I just didn't feel like it was for me. So after a really big fight with my dad, I decided, you know what am I doing here? We had the argument, and I told him, you know what, just give me a month. And then I decided to sell all my things and book a one-way ticket to Colombia. And that was 5 years ago.
Wow, that's kind of inspiring.
Yeah.
Why Colombia specifically?
Okay, so the long story is that I wanted to learn Spanish. And the best accents for learning Spanish are either Mexican Spanish or Colombian Spanish. So I remember during that 1 month where I was trying to prep everything, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. And then I applied to be a cruise pianist. And I got accepted to do a gig on, I think it was Royal Caribbean or Princess. And they said they were going to place me in March or April. And I was like, okay, amazing. So I had that lined up and I sold all my things. And then one morning I woke up and I found a one-way ticket to Colombia for like $180. And I was like, I think that was my sign from God. So I booked it and then I started selling my things. And then I went to Colombia and I was having a good time. I was learning Spanish. I learned very quickly. But then after a couple months, COVID happened. And then so I lost my contract for the cruise. And then I was stuck in Colombia. And I was like, well, what am I going to do now? And then I decided, you know what, I might as well just stay here. And that's when I started my YouTube channel.
So it also started 5 years ago. So this like...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been doing YouTube for a while.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So it's just not a new channel. So the whole thing... I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, I've watched this video, so I know your story. But for those who don't know, maybe we can just summarize. So you arrive to Colombia, you meet the girl,
Yeah.
get married. So
Yeah, sure. Okay, so my time in Colombia was very interesting. So it starts when I arrived and then COVID hit. And I was trying to figure my life out. I started also releasing music at the time, and then that was the first year where I actually made some money making music. And towards the end of the year, I met two women. So I met one girl who was my ex-girlfriend. She was Venezuelan, and I actually got her pregnant. I don't know how much I can say about this.
bro, it's a raw show.
Okay.
Feel free. No filters here.
So what was crazy is that I did not even finish inside of her. She got pregnant through pre-cum.
Okay.
So it was
really?
kind of, yes, man. So, like, it was just a really crazy scenario, and then she got pregnant, and then she ended up getting an abortion. And that was probably one of the most emotionally traumatic times of my life, because I allowed her to make the decision. It was her body. So I was like, all right, if you want to keep it, I'll support it. If you don't want it, then I can support that too. And she says, oh, I'm too young. So we decided to get an abortion. And after doing that, I was just so troubled, because I really felt like I killed my kid. And it gave me a lot of perspective on my dad as well, because my dad and I, we were fighting a lot. But when I was going through that, it made me start thinking about things like a father. And then I had a tremendous respect and appreciation for my dad at that point. Mm-hmm. So all of that happened, and I decided I wanted to turn a new leaf and find God. So I left from the big city Medellin. I went to the coffee region, and I found myself in this church because I was seeking out God at the time. So I moved to this small city called Manizales, and I got affiliated with this church group or all of the leaders in that church. And they took me in, they loved on me, they said that I was special, they really took care of me. And I had a couple of religious experiences with them. So I kind of fell in love with that whole entire environment. And then that's where I met my ex-wife. So we spent a lot of time together, and then eventually her and I, we started dating. And after a year and a half, we get married. And there was something about her from the beginning where I just felt God was pushing me to marry her, just telling me like she was going to be my wife. Like I knew kind of early that she was going to be my wife. And I don't know if it was God or if I was just super emotional in the moment because I had the religious experiences with them. So sometimes that maybe could have blinded me. But I was also in survival mode. You know, I was not there legally. I wasn't doing well financially, no relationship with my family. So I latched on to the first community that really showed me some love. And so that's how I got involved with the church community. A couple months before our wedding, that's when I noticed she started changing her behavior. I don't know if she was showing her true colors or because she started taking birth control that changed her mood. But then it really felt like I was not dating her, I was dating the church, because we would try to discuss something, but then if I had an opinion, she'd be like, no, I have to check with the church first to see if that's okay. And I was constantly superseded by what the church wanted or what I wanted. And then 2 months before the wedding, we sat down with the pastor. We had like a couples therapy, and he said a couple things to both of us. He told me that, like, look, Wes, if you want to marry to Anna, you're going to have to commit to this church lifestyle. Are you ready for that? And I was like, well, I didn't know how intense that was going to be. And I'm a man of God, so I just said yes. And then to her, he said, you are the unhappiest bride that I've ever met in my life.
What?
And then because we were just fighting about small things, you know, like we were planning the wedding, and then she would ask me, oh, what do you want for the plates? And I'm like, oh, this one's nice. And she says, nah, but I want this one. I'm like,
Just like, what's the point?
then don't I? Yeah, exactly, right? So I'm like, why ask me? So I was just like, you can plan it, do whatever.
Yeah.
So we had the wedding and all that stuff. And then because my parents already had their tickets planned, because I was there illegally, the only way I could get like my papers was through marriage. So that was maybe one of the reasons as well. And I thought that these were all things that we can negotiate in the marriage. So probably because we had a conversation about it, and she was like, it's okay, through the power of God, and we can work this out because we love each other, right?
Very poetic.
Yeah, very poetic, very romantic. So we get into the marriage, and the marriage is actually quite good. But there was always this lingering thing of, okay, am I dating her or am I dating the church? Because I had all these expectations placed on me for being her husband and the church man. I had to go to church, I had to do all of these things, but I'm like, am I getting a Christian wife? All of the leaders that were telling me that I had to live this Christian lifestyle, when they first got into the church, they were drug addicts. They've cheated on their wives. They were hitting their wives. But all these people are telling me how I'm supposed to live my life. That didn't make any sense. And I started thinking, wait, the pastor is saying this is how you should do a relationship or how you should raise your kids, but he doesn't have any kids. Why are there so many single women in the church? If God is supposed to find a husband for these women, why are all these women almost in their 40s and not married yet? So I always started just like having all of these questions, and then every time I would have a question, the answer would always like, God is the reason. No, God will take care of it. God will take care of it. All that stuff. And one of the important points too is before we got married, so I like to smoke marijuana. Before we got married, she found out about it, and she asked me to stop before we can get married. And I told her, okay, I will stop for you. And eventually throughout the marriage, because we would always be fighting about stuff, she started trying to control every aspect of my life through the aspect of religion. So, for example, if I want to go out with my friends, what bar are you going to? Oh, no, you shouldn't go to a bar because, there's a lot of bad spirits there and God would not want you to be there. So she tried to control the people I hung out with. I wanted to explore other churches, but she's like, no, you can't go to other churches because if someone takes a picture of you there, then it's going to reflect poorly on my reputation. So there was that. So I felt really trapped, and I was like, I can't go out. I can't really hang out with anybody. So I stayed at home all the time. And then I had a restaurant at that time too. So I was just really stressed out, and then I ended up smoking weed again. Okay. See? And she asked me when we were married, like, are you smoking again? And I told her honestly, yes, because I don't want to lie to my wife, right? So anyways, we start about a year, and we start fighting. We start having all these problems, and it gets to the point that I say, okay, look, if it continues this way where you're always going to put the church's opinion over me, I'm being a good husband. I treat you well. I never hit you. I've never said any bad words to her. I don't yell at her. I'm paying for everything because that's what's expected of me. But I have no authority in my household? Absolutely not. And then she went to the church, these church leaders behind my back, and talked poorly about me and told them I was smoking weed again. And I felt very betrayed by that. Because I got a text message from one of the leaders saying like, Wes, we don't like the way that you're dealing with your relationship. You and I, we'd have to have a talk. Because Anna, it was her name, she would never hurt anybody, and I'm going to protect her against anybody who does her harm. And I'm like, I was mad about two things. Number one, what did you tell him to make him get super mad? Why would you say bad things about me? But now I can't trust you.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be my wife. You're supposed to defend me. And I thought I was doing the right thing by being honest about, okay, yes, I'm smoking right now. Maybe it's something that we can work on together. What am I going to do? Lie to my wife? No, right? So anyways, I go away on a business trip to Medellin. I was doing some real estate stuff. And eventually the whole situation blew up. And the guy who texted me started sending me death threats. And I have it recorded and I put it on my video. And I sent a death threat to her. And she defended him first over defending me. And then at that point, I knew. I was like, okay, no, this is no. So I only had like a small luggage at the time. I had my computer and my passport. Thankfully, I had it. And my camera. And I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? And I decided that, I should just leave. So I filed for divorce. And after a month, I left and I went to Thailand. And then I was in Asia for 6 months. I went to Thailand, Vietnam. I visited my family in the Philippines. And then after that, I went to Poland. So
that's a beautiful segue right there, man.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story. I mean, I know it because I watched videos, but I didn't know these details. So it was religion, man, is such.
You're from Morocco, so you know how it's like.
Exactly, and I'm like not shocked, but I am surprised because it's the same patterns.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter the religion, whatever.
Yes, right.
It is the same shit.
And it's very unfortunate because I thought the fact that they were Christian, that they would be nice and welcoming, but they judged. I think Christians judge the most, actually. And it's
crazy, man.
It's very chaotic, yeah. And I think a lot of people use religion as a mechanism to try to control others as well, which is why I don't like it, yeah.
So while in this marriage, on this trip, you were already a YouTuber?
Yeah.
You were already making videos?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, okay. And then you're doing this Asian trip or tour?
Yeah. So there's another detail as well. So when I left, when I did the divorce, they appeared on like half my videos at the time. They sent me a lawsuit telling me to take all those videos down. So I had to delete half of my channel. So overnight, just like that. Wow. But thankfully, I was able to rebuild it when I went to Asia. So yeah.
I see. Good. So how did Poland came to the picture?
So when I was in Colombia, I was on a Reddit forum talking about my experience here. And then I had a friend who also was in Poland at the time. And we actually made a video together just talking about the differences and what it was like and the overall culture, how our Asians treated. So it was always in the back of my mind. And also because as an American, we're allowed to stay here without a visa.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to live in Europe for a bit. I'm going to go check out Poland. And initially it was for 6 months. But then after 3 months, I was like, I like it here. So I'm just going to stay. And then now I'm applying for my residency. And now I'm planning on staying.
We share the same destiny. So what year was this exactly?
That I came to Poland?
Yeah. I mean, when you had the idea of Poland, you decided to come to Poland.
That's a good question. I think while I was in Asia, I was enjoying my time there, but I realized Asia is fun, but it's not a place where I can grow. It's more of a vacation spot. Because I like Thailand, Vietnam. I didn't like Philippines that much, even though my family's from there, and I could live a good life there, but I didn't like the lifestyle. Like Thailand's cool, but it's a lot of passport bros, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And Vietnam was actually a really good time as well. And it's a bunch of people that look like me, share a similar culture. I like Viet culture a lot. But there's no room for growth there. Not a lot of people speak English. So if you want to be a content creator and network with other people, you can only really do it with the other expats, right?
True that.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what about Europe? And Poland was just, all right, I'm going to go check out Poland. Why not?
But why Poland first? I mean, for an American, I know the Americans, they kind of dream of Paris.
Oh, I've already seen it. I've already seen
those
places. Yeah. So I told you before I went to Colombia, I did a Europe trip. I did 12 countries in 6 weeks.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I saw a lot of Western Europe. The only place that I would have considered living in, maybe Spain, because I speak Spanish.
That's true.
Switzerland was nice, but super expensive.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
And then I went to Edinburgh as well, and I really like Scotland. Edinburgh.
The nature is beautiful there.
Oh my God, very nice. Tap water is
Game
great.
of Thrones,
Bro, for real.
lifestyle.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm understanding this now. I see. Because I like when you said when you look like a bunch of people in a similar place, there is no growth.
Yes.
And this is one of the reasons I actually decided to stay in Poland. Because when I arrived, I was like, oh, this is... Because I actually I'm a dinosaur because I arrived here the first time in 2008.
Yes.
So what do you see now in Poland? You haven't seen Poland, son?
I believe it. Yeah.
It was it's still beautiful. So tell me, you're like, all right, I'm going to go check out Poland, and somehow you decided to go to Krakow?
Yes. Because
Why?
in general, I don't like big cities. Okay. I always like the second city.
Tier, yeah.
So for example, when I was in Colombia, I went to Medellin first. Too big of a city, so I moved to a smaller city, Manizales. When I was in Thailand, I didn't like Bangkok. I went to Chiang Mai, the second big city. When I was in Vietnam, I didn't like Saigon, but Da Nang I liked a lot. So I saw a pattern, and I decided to try it out. But I've been in Krakow for about almost a year and a half, like a year now, and I'm planning on leaving in June and coming to Warsaw because of networking, and Krakow has become too small for me. So.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. So you arrived to Krakow, and here you are. Like, I'm gonna do my videos, gonna do my art, gonna do my thing. Walk me through these first days.
Sure. Yeah. So originally, I was just making videos about like being a digital nomad, and I actually had a point where I was debating about quitting YouTube. I think it was around April or March of last year, and I sat down with one of my best friends who I met through my channel. He's a successful guy from the Caribbean. Rashid, you're a great man. I love you, man. And we just talked about my channel, and he followed my channel for years, so he also watches my videos.
Content, yeah.
And we were just talking about the future. I was like, should I get a regular job, maybe get into recruitment, team leading, because that's what I'm good at? And he's like, well, you've been doing YouTube for 4 years, but what if you made 3 videos a week for a year? And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. It's a lot of work. But he's like, why don't you just try it? Maybe try it for 3 months, see what happens. And I was like, okay, you know what? Sure, bet, why not? And we were breaking down like what audience you want to target. And I picked 3 audiences. I was like, I can target Asian guys looking to travel. I can target digital nomads, or I can target Poland as a country. And he said, which audience is the biggest? And I was like, Poland. So he's like, why don't you try that? And I said, okay, bet. And then so I started making a bunch of videos about Poland, 3 videos a week. And then a month and a half in, I had my first viral video. And that's when my channel really started taking off. And that was in around June of last year. You know?
I see. And then they're like, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
Well, interesting that you mentioned the YouTube topic, because you know the YouTube culture, especially here in Poland, and especially the foreigners. And we are guilty of it as well here.
Yes, I know what you're going to say. Yeah. Uh-huh.
We are guilty of it. And everyone is praising Poland. Poland is this. And so where is this coming from?
Where's the praise coming from, or my style, or
I want to do it in general and then narrow down to you. So
okay,
there is the general. We are here now, all of us.
Yes.
Glazing Poland, incredible, and because I'm not sure about you, because we do get the occasional comments saying, "Stop promoting Poland." You know, we don't want immigrants here. Right. They're gonna come. They're gonna destroy. We don't want to become as friends.
And I think it's a fair criticism. Actually.
It is very fair. I understand the fear where it's coming from.
Yeah.
But we are not the enemy. It is. I talk about Poland because I'm paying respect to Poland.
That is true.
It is something I just want to do it creatively.
Yeah. And to be fair, your style of content as well is attracting a higher caliber of person.
Exactly.
My buddy and I were talking about this earlier, that Poland is nice because they attract immigrants, but it's a lot of high skill immigrants.
True.
Right? And so the people, you have to be here for a reason. You have to have a work visa. If you don't, they're going to kick you out.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is the perfect system. I really like how Polish people run their immigration system, actually. But to your original question, okay, so...
is it just... You know what I'm talking about,
yes? Yeah.
Because what I don't like, and sorry I'm talking maybe a lot here. What I don't like, because some creators, it does look like it's just fake.
Yes.
It is not true, and it's just for the views.
Yes.
And this what I don't want. That's why you have the other people saying, hey, stop promoting Poland.
Yes.
Because we could see it's fake.
Yes. I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but Polish people are insecure. What do I mean by that? They are starving for any foreign country or foreigners to talk well about their country because they've been seen as like second class in the UK, for example, or in Western Europe for so long. So anytime foreigner says Poland is good, all the YouTube audience flocks and like gives it a bunch of views and a bunch of likes. And yeah, Poland was mentioned. And this is something that I noticed, right? Like there's this chip on the shoulder of the country and the Polish people that, I know where it comes from. They're very smart, incredibly hardworking, but they're always seen as kind of like Europe's little brother, you see? So that's why this insecurity comes from. That's why a lot of people are trying to take advantage of it by glazing up Poland. But as you say, I know a lot of people are just doing it for the views. Because I do like reaction content on my channel. I did a reaction to a lot of Polish music. And it makes sense for me because I'm a musician, right?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
But I see other people who would make that content and it's so boring. You watch it and they're just like,
I know.
Oh my God, I love Poland. And it's like, get the F out of here. It's not
That's
genuine.
what I mean.
Right? And a lot of people are taking advantage of this. Hey, both of us are taking advantage of it as well, right? But I always knew like, okay, we can ride this trend, but I want to make videos that are better than everybody else and provides a unique perspective. So I try to ride the trend by following those topics, but then I make it interesting because for the music react videos, I'm a musician, so I break down the music from a musical standpoint, and then I also try to explain, this instrument here, this is why they did that, and then I thought about also doing like covers of Polish music in the future. That's something I want to explore. And then when it comes to speaking about the country, I have equally as many positive as negative videos on my channel. And something I found is that Polish people really respect when you can, it doesn't matter if you complain or say negative things about the country. If you can do it, articulate it in a way that's thought-provoking and smart and there's logic behind it, you get their respect. And I think that's why my channel has been able to stand out compared to all the other foreigners here.
No, I mean, because when I'm subscribed to your channel, obviously, so I do see your videos, but whenever I'm seeing one, I see the recommended ones, and it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
13 things to never do in Poland.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God. And then when I click on it, I'm just like, it's just, hey, get your bag. I'm a content creator.
Yes.
You guys do it, but please don't fake it, guys. That's why I appreciate and respect your work, because
Thank you.
You are very raw and honest, and you say the things as they are.
Yeah.
So back, we are here in Poland, so we're speaking about Poland. So what are the things that you actually notice as an American or Asian American that makes the Polish people so unique from your perspective?
There's a lot of things. I respect how hardworking they are. I respect their strong family values. I respect that they put their country first. I'm American, and I'm glad that Trump won, because now it seems like people respect America again after right? And he's like America first, and I'm like, that's great. And Poland, they think the same. They're very protective of their culture. They have a very strong stance against refugees and all this illegal immigration, right? And they have a strong adherence to the rules. And I think also how their social norms are very similar to Asians and East Asians, like just mind your own business, don't bother anybody, keep quiet in public, just respect your neighbor, be helpful. People are kind of cold here, but they're not mean. They're kind people. They just have a hard exterior, right? And as an Asian person, these are all traits that I'm very familiar with. So there's a lot of Asians here in Poland, and Asians are very well respected and appreciated here in this country, which I love. And out of all the countries in the world, Poland is one of the least corrupt countries as well. And it's
politically, you mean?
Yes, but also the system. For example, Ukraine is a very corrupt country, unfortunately. And I've heard, like in Serbia, they also don't trust the government. I have friends who have friends in government. They say that in other places you can buy your way to an appointment. You can buy a passport, money, you can buy anything. But here in Poland, no, you can't. You have to go by the rules and do it the way everybody else does it. And I think that's really awesome, and I think that the adherence to the rules reflects in the culture, you can see it walking around in the streets. You feel super safe here because people follow the rules, and people, and I also like that men are men here. For example, you can't hit a woman here. If you're in public and you hit a woman, the Polish guys will go and defend her. And that level of chivalry is really amazing. And I also like how the country really values long-term relationships. You can see, like, I have friends, men and women who date Polish men and women, and all of them are very happily in their relationships. And the Polish people usually come from two-parent households as well. So it's just like a nice, generally healthy family system here. So there's a lot of really good things to admire about this country. And the more you learn about it and their history and the language, the more you appreciate it too.
So would you say these are the things that made you stay in Poland? Because I'm just going to guess here, when you said I'm going to check out Poland, what was your thinking? It's like, okay, I can stay here for a while.
Yeah, well, I liked Krakow because like location-wise, it's very well located. It's like right in the middle of Europe. I like Budapest a lot. I visited Budapest. It's nice to visit, but not to live. And
But why?
what?
In Budapest, for example.
I think the government is not quite stable right now, and I think Poland's connection has a stronger connection with America than Hungary does. And I have a lot of friends here, so and Poland is nice. A lot of people speak English. I don't know. It's just
It's a feeling, yeah?
Yeah, it's just a vibe. It's just a
I
vibe.
can't explain it either,
Yeah,
you know? And
right.
the problem is that Polish people, they don't
See it.
accept this answer. It's like, hey, I don't know why I'm here, which is, for me, I'm a little bit spiritual. I just put it in the account of spirituality. Because I like to say that home is not a place, but it's a feeling.
It's a feeling, totally.
And when you feel home, you just stay. That's home.
Right. And to add on that as well, when I was in Colombia, I felt very limited in the kind of content that I could make because people go to Colombia mainly for the women and sexual tourism. Here in Poland, it's a lot different, and I feel like I can make the content I've always wanted to make here. I've always wanted to make music content. I just didn't find the right angle. So I started making the music reaction videos, and I'm like, and those are successful, and I'm like, oh wow, this is amazing. Because I'm a professional pianist. I want to produce here in Poland, work with Polish artists, and one of my goals is to be like a guest judge for The Voice here in Poland. That would be really awesome. And like you said, the feeling, just how I am as a person, and Polish values, I feel like just naturally line up. And the more that I make content and the more support that I get, the more at home, like you said, I feel here, right? I don't feel like I have to hide or have to like fake my personality or glaze up Poland for no reason. I just who I am, my personality, and Polish people seem to really appreciate it.
Okay, obviously everything in art is, pink and rainbows. And what is the thing that you don't like about Poland? That perhaps you may want to change?
The graffiti is very bad. It's so funny. You walk around the streets, it's super clean and safe, and then there's all these beautiful buildings tagged with all this graffiti. I think it looks ugly. So one of the most controversial things I've said in my videos is that Poland should reform their language. And I don't mean like a total complete overhaul, but just make it a little more, accessible to foreigners. Maybe with having more media programs or music that's a little more universally appealing. For example, Korean artists have been doing this. They make K-pop music, but it's half in English, half in Korean. A lot of Polish music is very good. What if they explore half Polish, half Spanish, half Polish, half English, right? So you get a more international audience. Because Poland has the lowest birth rate in Europe right now. And because there's a lot of brain drain as well. I mean, maybe not now, but for a while, a lot of the tech talent was leaving the country. So when you need, for example, I hear that in the healthcare industry here, they're lacking like workers. So if you don't have any Polish workers, what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to import people.
Yeah.
And because Polish is such a hard language, if you import a bunch of people, you're going to have what you have in the UK or in the US, where you have a bunch of immigrants, they speak their own language, and then Polish language will eventually die away, right? So that's one of my concerns for the long form. I mean, you and I, we're both learning Polish right now. I think it's a cool language. But one of my friends, who's also a content creator, he lives here for 3 years, and he has not learned Polish. He learns Russian. And when asked, like, you're living here in Poland, why aren't you learning Russian? Or why aren't you learning Polish? And he says, well, I don't need to learn it, and everybody here speaks Russian. And
What?
Yeah, and then I was like, it's crazy that he openly says that, but then there's a lot of Ukrainians here, Belarusian. But a lot of my friends have lived here for 4 or 5 years, and none of them speak Polish or have put the effort. And I think that's going to be a problem in the long term. So that's maybe the foreigners' fault for not learning the language. I think it's extremely disrespectful. But maybe if Poland doesn't want their language, like, do you kind of see what I'm trying to get to? I want to be very careful with my words because I know it's going to insult a lot of people.
You don't want to be canceled.
Right.
No, I think
it's just an observation that I'm making, right?
So, because I actually wanted to go back there because we have the people saying stop advertising Poland. We don't want another France or Germany, Sweden. And you mentioned you understand where it's come from. I understand. I also understand the fear. But this is also last week. I've seen this YouTube video. It was a Ukrainian girl, and she was talking about how unfortunately, the sentiment towards Ukrainian has changed,
Yes.
and she has some problems.
Yes.
And then she mentioned something very interesting, which was, I think that goes along what you said, the integration. That Poland, they are not doing any effort to integrate people. And I like to think that strongly, economically, as a strong economic country, they would need people anyway.
Yeah.
Higher education, it doesn't matter, but at the end of the day, you need to solve that problem. Maybe immigration or mass immigration obviously is not the answer.
Right.
There has to be some effort, like
Exactly.
integration.
At what point does English become the official language of Poland, right? I mean, that's a very controversial statement, but
is.
most people living in Warsaw, they don't speak Polish a lot. Like, especially the foreigners, they just speak English.
Yeah.
Right? So that's just an observation that I've made. And then going back to the Ukrainian thing, I think they have a lot less tolerance for Ukrainians not integrating because they're culturally similar, and the language is like 50-60% similar as well.
Yeah.
For us, we come from completely different language backgrounds, so it takes us a lot longer. But I have heard Polish people also frustrated with the Ukrainians.
Yeah, and they say there's no integration, we don't feel connected, and it goes very, very deep. So
Yeah. But also, to Poland's defense, right, one of the things that I said I like about the country is that they defend their values and they're very protective. So it's like, where's the balance? Because you can't have one without the other, right? But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility as foreigners. You've been here 12 years, so that's your bad, right? You got to learn Polish, bro.
this show should be in Polish, right?
It should be. But for me, my plan is I want to get to B1 by the end of the year and then eventually try to get on Polish TV. So I'm really taking the language seriously.
I think it's a very, very decent and interesting, goal that you could pursue, and I think it would completely change your experience living in Poland.
Totally.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about one of your favorite topics: passport bros visiting Poland. What do you think about that? You made a wonderful video. Made sense to me. I liked it.
Okay, so the passport bros used to be the definition of a passport bro is someone living in another country in hopes of a better life, using the strength of their passport to live somewhere else. But it's evolved into sex tourism, right? So now passport bro and sexual tourism are used kind of interchangeably, even though they're different definition, like by definition, right? The passport bro movement has, I don't know what to say about it, because when I was in Colombia, I saw this a lot. A lot of people say that they want to go to Colombia for the culture, but none of, there's foreigners that have lived there for 2 or 3 years, none of them speak Spanish. And then I get accused of going to Colombia only for the women, but I say I went there for Spanish and my Spanish is C1, almost perfect, right? So passport bros are now just people honestly looking for easy women and being able to flex their passport in poorer countries so they can get women, right? And in terms of Poland, I think there has been an increase of dating coaches and day gamers. I'm sure you've seen them around, just like in the center, right? They just go up. So that scene is here, but in general, I don't think Poland is a good place for that, because they still are quite traditional here in terms of relationship and what they're looking for. And I tell guys, they're like, what is it like dating a Polish girl? Can I go for a couple of weeks and try to date a girl? I'm like, if you want a serious girl, you have to be here for at least a year. As soon as they hear you're only here for a week or two, you're gone. You're done, right? So I like that the barrier to entry to Poland is quite high, because also it's not really a cheap country. It's cheaper, but it's still a European country.
It is.
And the wages here, they're making quite a good amount of money. So it's not like we show up and then as American, we're like super high status and we're making way more money than them. It's a little more of an even playing field. So I think if people want to come here to date a Polish person and their intentions are good, they stay here and they want like the family and a legitimate long-term relationship, this is a good place for that. But if you're just coming for like a short-term thing, I don't think this is the place.
Because the thing that I don't appreciate is these passport bros in Poland, they picture Polish women as easy girls or sluts.
Yes,
exactly. And that's very hurtful. Now, that's stop advertising Poland, because that's not that way. And there was this guy that you did the video with. I didn't watch his video, to be honest, because I was like, I'm not interested.
Right.
But could you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so I did video on 2 different creators. One of them was this guy named Rich, who actually, after I made the video, he deleted his whole entire channel.
He did?
Yeah.
The whole channel?
The whole channel.
No.
And he put some false copyright strikes on me. He did it twice, and then YouTube sided with me, and then he filed a privacy complaint. And then afterwards, he emailed me. He's like, "Hey, the war's over. Can you take your videos down?" And I told him, "No, bro. Like maybe earlier I would have been open to it, but you burned that bridge when you sent these false copyright strikes on me."
Yeah.
And then there's another one called Skylar DeRozan, who's a very famous like passport bro guy. His whole channel is he's in Brazil, and his whole Patreon is about pay for play in all these countries. He literally, if you go on his Patreon, it's like whore economics 101, and in just Romania, all of these countries, you know. So it's like creators like that give the passport bros a bad name, and unfortunately, it's coming from one specific. Like the majority of that content is coming from a particular demographic of person, right? I don't want to say it openly, but they're usually Americans and from a specific demographic. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. And I do think that these videos are extremely hurtful. That's why I made my video to call it out. And people were accusing me of being racist. It's like, why are you only doing this to like a black creator? But then I say, I think the bigger problem is why aren't other black creators calling out this behavior? Why does it take an outsider just to be like, this is wrong? And then I didn't even really criticize him for his race. His video was the truth about being a black man in Poland. And I just was against the ideas. But then just by me calling him out, people were coming after me, calling me racist, right? So, yeah, that was a whole entire mess. Yeah, what was the original question again? Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest.
No, I mean, I think this is like your answer, like publicly to just answer, because no, I see that the backlash that was going on,
right?
And I just wanted to.
Yeah, it was overwhelming support though, for sure. Like, and I think the Polish people really appreciated that I called this guy out and that I defended the country. But yeah, there's a certain group of people on the internet that are just calling me a racist or stuff like that. So
yeah, but that's normal. It's like 10% is always like this.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
if you don't get the hate, it means you're not doing something you're incorrectly.
Exactly, right.
So good for you. So I saw your video and you said that you are learning Polish for real
Yes.
at this time. How's that experience going?
It's going pretty well. I was self-studying for a few months, and then I had my first Polish lesson yesterday, actually. So I skipped straight to A2. Sorry, not B2.
That would be good.
That would be impressive. No. So I skipped to A2, and she spoke all in Polish for an hour and a half, and I understood 80% of everything. So the studying has worked. I know a lot of words, but putting sentences together is very difficult because the grammar, Polish grammar, is notoriously difficult. But I'm working on it, and I like making YouTube videos about it because it holds me accountable, right? Like if I've been studying for 6 months, but I haven't made progress, I'm going to get called out by the Polish people. Rightfully so, right? So yeah, I'm taking lessons right now. And then in the building that I live, I have a lot of Polish friends that I can also practice with. But when I move to Warsaw, I'm really going to take it seriously because this is something I want to pursue. And if I want to jump into traditional media here, I have to speak Polish. There's no other way around it.
Can you say something in Polish now?
Tak, mówię po polsku. Jestem z Chińczykiem, ale jestem z Ameryki. Lubię live is no mieszkać. But lubię.
You are
but lubię. I like to live. Mówię mieszkać w Polsce. Bo jest I don't know how to say. Jest my Spanish is coming in. Jest jedna kraj piękna I yeah, that's yeah. So
it's not bad.
So not bad, right? But you can see, like, I know a lot of random words. I know a lot of random nouns, but the grammar, making the sentences, I still struggle with.
Yeah, the grammar is a tough one.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm struggling with it as well for years now.
Exactly.
But to make, even some Polish people, they say they are struggling with the grammar as well.
Yeah.
You guys confirm? Philip? No? You're not struggling?
You know what's funny? So I get crap on my channel when I say that Polish grammar is hard and sometimes it doesn't make sense. But a lot of my Polish friends, they themselves argue amongst themselves about the language and the grammar stuff. So it's not just me, okay?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, but I like the challenge, and I think it will. If we learn it, it will really separate us from the rest of the foreigners.
For sure.
And I think the country, like, my stance is, if you're going to live in a country, you have to learn the language. It's just common respect. When I was in Colombia, I learned Spanish, and then now that I'm here, I have to learn Polish.
Beautiful. So you mentioned that you are living Krakow. Why is that for Warsaw? I mean, I understand the big picture, but could you elaborate?
So in general, I like living in smaller cities. I think that's a little bit more my vibe. So that's why I picked Krakow, because I just generally don't like capital cities like the second city. But I'm planning on moving to Warsaw because my channel has exploded here and I want to collaborate with other creators. And I miss the big city energy because it just fuels you to want to work and, you know, be out there. Why did I pick Krakow, or what do I think about Krakow?
You mentioned like it got too small for you and then you decided to make.
Sure. I think Krakow was a very cool introduction to the country. And I picked living in a co-living building because I wanted to live with other people. And I met a lot of really cool people, Polish people, international people. But that building, as beautiful it is, it's called Shed Co-Living. It's an amazing building, but it feels like a little bubble inside of Krakow, which is also a bubble. Krakow is nice, but because it's a tourist city, I feel like the locals there are very closed off. So I don't really have any local friends. All my Polish friends are from other cities in Poland. And it was nice when I was 29, and it was a building primarily with students. But after I turned 30, now I'm like, okay, I'm a little too old for this. And I have a lot of friends here in Warsaw who are around our age. Well, you're 37, right? Or
39.
39. Okay, yeah. 30. But after 27, who's counting?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I have a lot more friends here in Warsaw who are around my age doing the same thing, other content creators. And I just want to be around this more ambitious energy with people who will push me to be better. Krakow was nice. After all my traveling, after the divorce, it was a nice, chill, quiet place for me to take a breather, relax, think about what I want to do. And it really allowed my channel to take off. But now it's like, okay, Krakow was nice, but the next step has to be Warsaw because everything is happening here, right?
So Warsaw is a very specific city. You visited obviously before, so you know how it is, and I could confidently say you're in good hands. I'll show you around.
Yes.
I welcome you with open arms. And it's a very specific. The city has given me a lot.
Yeah,
I'm very proud to be here. But I also lived in Krakow, for I think 4 months. I had my first girlfriend there, and it was beautiful. But it's true when you mention the tourists, because at some point there's like a little bit too much.
Yes,
and
exactly.
you feel like you're not really living in the city.
Yes,
you're living among the tourists.
Yeah, totally. And also just the way time moves in Krakow, it feels like it moves a lot slower and it's way too chill.
Yeah.
Because every time I come to Warsaw, I just get energized again. Like everything gets affected. My ambition gets affected. Me wanting to go to the gym, and even my sex drive, because I think ambition and sex drive are also linked.
Right.
So, so in Krakow, I feel like it was chill, but it's just too chill. And then, Warsaw, the energy is nice.
So what are the things you are looking forward to? How do you imagine yourself here in Warsaw? What would be your ideal day?
Upping my video production, obviously. Network with other like-minded people who can push me, other men specifically. Like I like the masculine energy to be pushed a lot further. And I also want to meet up with other Polish creators and Polish musicians. I want to help Polish musicians produce. That's always been a dream of mine because I also produce as well. Some of my music has been on TV shows and movies. That's where most of my plays come from. And maybe get some music performance opportunities here. But I want to do that more as like a side gig because I made music my main gig before, and it takes away the joy of doing something creative when it's your job. YouTube is already a creative thing, and that's my job. So music is going to be like a side thing. But I feel like everything I've always wanted to do in my life, like be a very successful musician, and now I guess be famous. I had this thought process where I'm a more chill guy. I don't really like the attention, but I've just accepted that. I think it's just in my destiny that I'm going to be a famous person. I have the personality for it. I have the talent for it. And Poland has opened the door for me for it. So I'm just kind of like accepting it now. And one of the reasons why I was maybe scared of coming to Warsaw was like, maybe it's like too big leagues for me. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? But I'm really excited to be here. There's just the vibe and the energy is great. Warsaw is still a developing city. Like I feel like the hype is coming, but it's not quite there yet. But I think in 2 or 3 years, Warsaw is going to be people are going to be talking about Warsaw, kind of like talking about Paris or London, right? Like it's already starting.
In that scale, I mean.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it's a little scary. And I guess my content and your content has a little bit to do with causing these people to come.
You mentioned you want to have a family. Do you
Yes.
see yourself having a family in Poland?
I think this is a very good option for that. I think their family values are great. Something that I love about this country is that you go on public transportation, you see kids 10, 11 years old by themselves riding public transportation and walking around by themselves. you can't do that in so many other countries. And you used to be able to do that in many Western European countries, but that changed very rapidly. So I don't take that for granted. And especially after Colombia with the death threats and how unsafe it was, I value safety more than anything. So Poland being a modern European country with the safety and great family values makes it a very perfect place to raise kids, to be honest. So I would love to raise kids here. Maybe not in Warsaw because I don't want to raise kids in the city. Maybe that will change in the future. Maybe a city outside or a smaller city like Lublin or Poznan or something like that. But I think Poland is an amazing place to raise a family. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I second that. I will always mention this, and I always like to ask this question to actually get the genuine reaction, and I think I got it there. Yeah. You were very passionate about it.
Yeah, it's a great place.
No, definitely. I, like you, I don't think Warsaw is the proper to raise a family. I'd also like to be maybe in some, smaller, not town, but maybe actually around Warsaw.
Right.
Like the suburbs.
Mm-hmm,
right?
Exactly.
And then, and you can still come to the city, enjoy, but have a nice house outside.
Exactly. Because all my Polish friends that come from the smaller cities, they had such great childhoods. They all rave about it, right? Their friendships with their childhood friends, they've known them for like 15 years. And they're just more wholesome. And that's kind of the familiar structure that I want to raise my kids in, right? So.
Exactly. Because actually all my friends are practically maybe 90% are not from Warsaw, but they are from around Warsaw and they are just living here.
Exactly.
And I think that's a perfect environment.
Yes.
So beyond YouTube, you are a pianist with over 1 million streams.
Yes.
So how does your musical background influence your approach to creativity and storytelling?
Right. I think music is a language. And if it's a way that I can communicate emotions and a feeling through sound, right? I think my ability to learn languages very quickly is also because of my strong musical ability. And if you hear me play piano, I'm classically trained and I studied classically for like 10 years. But I'm a jazz pianist and I mainly improvise. You give me a song, you give me the chords, and I play it differently every single time because I just vibe and I go with the flow. I feel like when you're creating any form of art, it's like a battle with the muse, right? So when I play piano, I'll sit down and I'll play. And then after a little bit, I'll be like talking to myself and it's like I'm talking to the muse, right? I also, this is one of the reasons why I like smoking marijuana because it connects me to the muse a lot quicker and a lot deeper. Most of the music that I've produced has been under the influence and I can do it sober, but it's just not as good. And so because I have such a strong connection with the muse, I also feel like it's kind of like connecting to what book says this? Maybe Think and Grow Rich, like the universal
Benjamin Franklin, yeah?
No, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It talks about like the strong universal energy or something like that. There's like a universal energy in the world. And musicians connect to it, and we're just kind of the vessel, and we channel the muse. But I also kind of view my life like that, right? Like, yes, we have the ability to make decisions in our lives, but a lot of times it feels like we're just kind of experiencing it, and then doors will open for us, and this is where you have to go. You just have to follow it, right? So because my approach to music is so free, and just kind of go with the flow, and I just go with the flow. I think I kind of live life like that as well. I accept that there's many things that I cannot control. And whatever cards are dealt to me at any given moment, I just, like a dance, learn to go with the flow, right? I went to Colombia. That didn't work out. I went to Asia. It was great, but it brought me here to Poland. Exactly. And then brought me here to Poland. And so I'm committing to Poland for the next 3 to 5 years, and I would love to stay here, but we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And one of my big values is just always be flexible, always be adaptable, and put myself in a situation where, in worst case scenario, something bad happens in Poland. History has shown that everybody wants this land for some reason, and everyone wants to invade them. So at the end of the day, I want the ability to be able to move my family to a safe place and have the flexibility to do that. So that's kind of how I see my life. And also just this ability to channel the muse, I think, applies to a lot of aspects in life. When you're flirting with somebody, when you have a very good connection and very good banter, it's like a dance, right?
True.
And how do you explain that connection you have with somebody? It's just kind of, it's like play. It's play, right? So you're just
Like chemistry.
Exactly. And then you can't really, you're not rehearsing what you say. You're just in the moment. You're just dancing, right?
Flow.
You're in the flow. Exactly. And that's how I live my life. I try to connect myself to the flow as much as possible.
What about storytelling? Because you are a storyteller at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I think because when I play music, I connect with my emotions very deeply. And I try to elicit the same emotions when I'm telling a story and I talk about my life. I'm shying away from storytelling on my channel now because I kind of want to keep my personal life a little more private now that I'm getting bigger. But when I do talk about my life, I edit and I try to, it's always from a feeling perspective, right? Because you can be like, okay, this is how you do a story, the 3-part story, the beginning, the climax, and the ending, resolution, right? But every time I edit a video, people ask me, what's the perfect length for a video? And I say, as long as it needs to be. When I watch the video and I just feel it in my gut, the muse is telling me it's ready. And then you put it out there and then the world gets to decide and judge the art. So
I see. Beautiful. That's, I like what you said here. Because I'm all about storytelling. I think,
yes, right.
You know, those who master or tell stories kind of
yes
control the world, to be honest.
And that's what the Bible is. It's a bunch of stories.
Exactly. That's also the Quran. You know, I was, when I was young in school, they hooked us with stories. They was telling the stories of the prophets and all that stuff. Yes. And it was incredible. And YouTubers are storytellers.
Yes.
And I'm glad, you know, to be sharing the stage with you, the storyteller.
Yes.
Like you. So what do you think is important in your field of work and we haven't talked about today?
I don't know. I mean, like when it comes to YouTube or when it comes to music?
Something you said is important we didn't talk about.
Oh,
today.
yeah. Well, okay. So maybe, I mean, in terms of YouTube, I think at the end of the day, authenticity is king on YouTube. So there's a lot of people riding the wave about Poland right now, trying to glaze it up. But I think it's just a trend because at the end of the day, the creators that have really stuck and gathered an audience are the ones that are authentic. And people see right through that.
So authenticity.
Authenticity is king,
Exactly. Well, you're obviously in this, let's say, train of personal growth. So what is personal development for you?
That's a good question. I think it all started repairing the relationship with my family, particularly my dad. I have tremendous respect for my dad now. Through my 20s, my young 20s, we fought a lot and I had a lot of anger towards him. But as I get older, and I think this happens to most men, you know, our dads had their flaws, but we start to humanize them and appreciate them for what they did. Being a man is not easy. And the responsibility to provide and protect a family, especially as an immigrant in a new country, is a lot of pressure. And growing up, I have a lot of respect for my dad because he never, even though he went through ups and downs financially, he never showed it. He always took care of us. He had a couple business deals went south and a lot of credit card debt at some points, but he never showed it. He reacted very negatively and it was verbally abusive to us, but you know, I didn't understand it at the time. But now as an adult, I'm just like, oh wow, it's my dad did his job, and healing that relationship with my dad has had so many profound positive effects on my life. And so I think that's number one. And then number two, I heard this quote by Stéphane Labossiere. He says that life is not about being who you want to be, it's about discovering who you are. And just coming to terms with who I am as a person and accepting parts of myself instead of being like, this is what I want to be and trying to change myself to be that. I'm just look in the mirror and be like, okay, at 30, all the decisions in my life, you have enough time to see the consequences of those decisions. What you like, what situations, like your character, who you really are. And I'm like, okay, this is who I am based on the actions and decisions that I made, not just fantasy version of who I want to be, you know? Yeah.
Beautiful. Well said. Well, Wes, thank you so much for this conversation. I think it was very inspiring. And to close off the topic, because you mentioned that, you know, you heard about Poland and you decided to go. So what if someone is watching this or listening to this podcast and they want to come to Poland, what would you tell them?
Poland is a very beautiful country with great people, and unfortunately a lot of people have taken advantage of their kindness. But if you come here with good intentions, with a good heart, pure heart, and you're hardworking, you're going to be welcomed by the Polish people with open arms. And it's an amazing country, and I can't wait to see the future. It's going to be great.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Wes. Thank you for coming. I'll see you in Warsaw.
I'll see you. Yeah. Cheers, bro.